How's that? All right? Tihau Māori ora, tihau ki te whaiao, ki te taiao, ki te ao mārama. Nau mai haere mai ki tēnei rā whakamutunga mo tēnei hui. Ohorere ana taku manawa ki te kite a koutou, ahako awake I tēnei ata. It's lovely to see you this morning. Welcome to the final day of this conference. I'm going to make life hard and I'm going to start off with a song and find out who partied hard last night. Good way to blow out the cobwebs, and you can help me with the song. Some of you may be familiar with it. The line that I want you to sing goes like this. I'll sing the line for you and just point to you, and you sing it back at me. Tihau Māori ora, tihau wini wini, tihau wana wana e. Ko tōku maunga, he maunga tike tike, he maunga rangatira e, ko tōku awa, rere ko piko piko, The first lines of the song say, ko tōku maunga, he maunga tike tike. My mountain is a very, very tall mountain. The next line says, ko tōku maunga, he maunga rangatira. My mountain is the mountain of a chief. The next line says, ko tōku awa rere ko piko piko, kia hina moana e. My river flows all the way to the sea. Now the part that we're going to sing together goes, Tihau Māori ora. That means long live the first breath of life. Some of the most important words in any culture, since when you're born, if you don't take that breath, you're not going to make it. That's why we start our speeches off with Tihau Māori ora. Are you ready? I'll try that bit again. You partied too hard, folks. 25. Tihau Māori ora, tihau wini wini, tihau wana wana e. Well, that was my chance to be a rock star, so we'll just put that to the side for a while. And, thank you. Call up Paul for the APLM draw. Okay, this is it. This is what we came to the conference for. So here we go. Yeah.
Lucy Brunwyn.
Looks like it, yes. Yep. Do it over there so people see it. Anybody want to pay me some money and I'll fix things up here?
Jackie McMillan. We've got 2 extra lucky loser MP3 player prizes. One for Jackie. Does it come in? No, that's not. Okay. We'll find it. Alison Gordon. Senior Alison. Thank you very much, everybody.
Housekeeping. I'd like to, it's time for the valid draw, and I'd like to call Terry Riding up to the stage. Just do it out there, save it, please.
Last year, that this year is the 15th anniversary of 3M sponsoring the Innovation Award, and we're pleased that we've been able to do something a little bit special, in so much that we're going to take 2 of the delegates from this conference to the LIANZA Conference in February in Melbourne. For that you get airfares from Auckland, Wellington or Christchurch, you get the conference registration, 3 nights accommodation, and the highlight of course has to be a welcome dinner with me in Melbourne. But just before we do the draw, it's been a time of change for the economy, for the country, and probably for you as library professionals if you've seen the desires of the patrons change. For us it's been a change as well within 3M. Cy Warlick, who I'm sure is well known to a lot of you as the General Manager of the division, has now been given a role of Strategic Business Manager for Australia and New Zealand, where she'll be looking for business opportunities for 3M to grow as a company and mergers and acquisitions. However, for me it's exciting because she's still going to keep an eye on me to make sure that I do what I've been doing for the last 7 years. What it has done though is given us a great opportunity. Through Cy's new role, we're now going to be working very closely with Australia, so we now have additional resources to work with. And I'd like to also introduce, if I may, Alon Goldberry. Alon, if you could stand up. Alon is the business manager, or my equivalent in Australia. He runs the library business in Australia. And what it's done for 3M New Zealand, instead of just Kerry Robertson, our engineer, and myself working together as like Tonto, the Lone Ranger and Tonto, we've now got access to 3 more technical people, skilled technical people, project people, marketing people. So for New Zealand now makes us a library operation now of about 9 people. So that's going to bring benefits through to you folk as well. So let's look at the Innovation Award which started all this. It's been going for 15 years, and like the industry and ourselves, it's time to reinvent it. And we've been taking some guidance from Alison and the lead team at Auckland Libraries, and we'll be making an announcement in the new year of where the award will go. It will continue, but in a slightly different form. At the moment it's been limited to innovation. What have you done that's brought some major change to your library? We're looking at opening it up to maybe something that you've done within your library. Maybe it's a change of the way you've interacted with a patron, the way you've changed a backroom process. One of the key criteria will be transferability. So whatever you've invented, it will need to be transferred on so it can be replicated by another library. It's work in progress, and as I said, we're 3M, and I'd like, on behalf of 3M, to really acknowledge the guidance that we're getting from Alison and her lead team, and it's very much appreciated. But now comes the time we obviously want to announce who's going to go to VALA, and Sire is going to do the draw. Remember, the criteria was you had to be in the auditorium this morning, so if somebody's not here, unfortunately, they may win the prize and not be able to take it. So we're drawing 2 trips to VALA, and we've also got a third prize of the 3M Pocket Projector, which is a really great little product. We're all used to seeing the big data projectors hanging from the ceiling in a room. This one's 180 lumens, and it will give you a screen size, the equivalent of a 42-inch plasma TV from something you can hold in your hand. So if you can delve into our box and look out who's the first person going to VALA.
Okay, first person going to VALA is Shirley Powell, reference librarian from Rotorua District Libraries. Congratulations. Okay. Right, second person. Helen Brownlee, Systems Librarian from the University of Otago.
Now, Helen, did I tell you we've changed the rules? The FEs are only from Auckland. So in the brunch break, if both of you could come back and see us so we could get some more details to give through to our travel agent, because we need to get all the fares booked and the accommodation booked before the end of the year. So if you both pop back to the 3M stand, if you wouldn't mind, during the break after this next keynote speaker. And Sire?
Okay, so finally for the 3M M Pro 180 projector. Fiona McGregor from Wellington City Libraries. Local. So we've got the projector on our stand as well, so anytime feel free to come up and grab it, and we'll give you a little bit of instruction on how to use it.
So in closing, thank you for your support of the 3M VALA competition, and we'll be excited about announcing the changes to the Innovation Award next year, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the 2012 LIANZA Conference in Palmerston North. And thank you once again all for your support.
I've been asked to remind session chairs to collect certificates from the registration desk. Also, to remind chair people that the sessions need to be wrapped up 5 minutes prior to end of sessions to give people time to move to next lecture. Please visit all exhibition stands in the Town Hall and Renoff foyer and go in the draw to win an iPad 2 exhibition passport prize drawn during brunch. Be at the closing session to receive the prize. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Rachel Essen to chair the next session. Thank you.
Kia ora, thanks Aparana. Kia ora koutou, talofa lava, good morning. Congratulations on making it to day 3, and congratulations on coming to this session. A couple of years ago, I was reading Catherine Greenhill's blog, Librarians Matter, reference, as my 15-year-old daughter would say. I don't know if any of you have got teenagers, but they seem to do this thing now where when they reference something, they tell you, which is kind of like a verbal footnote, which I like. Anyway, so reference, Catherine Greenhill's blog, and she'd posted about a library director in the States who had, at her library, they'd received some feedback about the library opening hours written in chalk on all of the paths leading up to the library. The library director was Jenica, and she took rather an unusual approach to responding to that, got down on her hands and knees with chalk and wrote a message back, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. She did actually then also respond with a poster as well. But the response that she got from the students when they saw her down on her hands and knees writing chalk was really good. And I just thought it was a fantastic example of responding to users in their own space, something that we could learn from. Anyway, I followed Jenica for a while on her blog, and then when we were coming to organise the conference, having stalked her on her blog, I actually approached her and said to Sue, I think Jenica would be a fantastic speaker. So here we are, a couple of years down the track. It's been a journey for both of us and a long way for Jenica to come. So she's the Director of Libraries at the New York State Universities in Potsdam. And she was named a mover and shaker from Library Journal in 2009, and I think she's going to move and shake us a bit this morning. So please welcome Jenica Rogers.
Good morning. It is wickedly bright up here, so it's a good thing that I didn't drink too much last night. I would like to first just say thank you to all of you, and specifically to Rachel and to Telsig for sponsoring me to be here. It is my pleasure to be able to be here, and I would also like to extend my thanks to Corin Haynes and all of the lovely people from Auckland who made me feel so welcome when I arrived in the country. And it looks like we're ready to go. So, I had to make up a title for this because they wanted a title. And they wanted an abstract, so I made something up. And as one of the previous keynotes noted, sometimes by the time you get around to doing it, it doesn't actually reflect what you said you were going to do, but I tried. But so this may seem like a bit of an odd title. We all do, in fact, live in reality, so there's no need for the phrase reality-based librarians, except that I think that there is. We live in a liminal time. The internet, globalization of information and culture, the as yet fully unseen repercussions of the digital divide, and shifting global and regional economies, they're changing everything. And so we have people who, both in our public and personal lives, and specifically in our professional lives, are clinging to the past because it's familiar and comfortable. And then there's also people who are urgently plunging forward because they recognize that everything is changing and they want to be there when it happens. And then there's a bunch of people who are sort of standing still and waiting to see what's going to happen next. And from my perspective, it doesn't really matter which camp you fall into on that spectrum. I think the future is going to take care of all of us in one way or another in the end. But what matters is that you make a decision about whether or not you're going to cling to the past or lunge forward or stand and wait until you can see a clearer path. And that choice be based in your personal, local reality. Our local realities differ, just as our individual positions differ. Budgets, communities, goals, needs, resources, skills, desires, they're all different. And so we choose to either stand or plunge forward or cling to the past. I believe that we're all capable of being passionate, effective, and successful, of plunging forward in smart ways, but it's foolish to think that we can all do that in the same way. And so that's where I think that reality comes in. I value reality-based librarians, whatever their circumstances are. So that's me. When I'm standing up here, I know I'm a very small figure, brightly lit, and probably appear to be mostly hair. So I try always to put a picture of myself up that's a bit bigger so that you can see what I, in fact, actually look like. The question then becomes, if that's the title and that's where I came from with the title, who am I? The easy answer is that I am the Director of Libraries at the State University of New York at Potsdam. The question then is, where is Potsdam? Potsdam is not New York City. I am not a city girl. Potsdam is 20 miles from the Canadian border in upper New York State. I'm closer to Montreal than to Boston, closer to Ottawa than to New York City. The closest decent airport is in Ottawa, and it gets very cold in the winter. It's currently snowing at home and will do so until April. So who am I? I've been working in libraries for half my life, literally, and all of the adult portion of my life. I've committed myself to public education, and I find great satisfaction and some very cool opportunities being a writer and a speaker within our profession. So I've worked in my current institution for 8 years in 3 different roles. I started as a cataloging librarian, then became the head of collection management, and now am the director of libraries, and have been for the past 2.5 years. My responsibilities encompass the main campus library, the music library in support of our conservatory, the special collections, and our archives. And as for why I'm here, offering you a closing keynote, I'm someone who gets things done, is what it really comes down to. I set goals, I identify dreams, and I make things happen. I do that by planting myself equally firmly in passion and reality. There's been a lot of questioning here this week and in general about how to nurture and create leaders from within our profession, and I would say the answer is clear. You go do it. Go be it. Take responsibility for that need for leadership and do it. So if you tune out halfway through this talk, or even in 5 minutes, I hope you remember one thing. The one thing that I want you to hear before you leave here and I'm done speaking is that you are your own best weapon against the things you want to change. You are your own most powerful resource. So there, some of you can stop listening now. I'm going to share some more thoughts on that. You get to decide whether or not they're wisdom. The very first thing you have to do in order to be a passionate librarian is to find your passion. You've been hearing great stuff at this conference. I know you have. I've been listening as well. I've been to all the keynotes and several of the concurrent sessions and talked to many, many people. And so there's great ideas circulating around right now. You've heard great ideas, some big, some small, some huge and unwieldy, some very doable, but fraught with somehow some kind of uncertainty about your personal circumstances, your institution, your library, your job. And you're wondering how you do it, how you make it work, what you actually do. So I would say step 1 is to figure out why you like an idea. Why does it keep circling around in your brain? Why are you fixated on a particular outreach technique that you heard about, or a particular piece of technology that you saw demoed by a vendor? Why do you want so badly to change this thing, that thing, the other thing, whatever your thing is? What is it about those ideas that resonates for you? I would say that you have to figure that out. If you can figure that out, then you're advocating for an idea, or a goal, or a belief, a passion. If you can't figure it out, you're advocating for an outreach technique, or a piece of software, or a thing that you want to change. For example, if I stand up and I say something that I believe is true, which is that SpringShare makes an awesome product called LibGuides, and it's very cool. that tells you that there's a product that I'm interested in. It's not nearly as compelling as if I stand up and I say, SpringShare makes a product called LibGuides, and it allows libraries to build websites easily out of the box with little tech skill, using a resource that is built by librarians for librarians with librarian training staff, and also contains a knowledge base that you can leverage to add content to your website without having to build it yourself. One of those is more compelling than the other. And in addition, some attendees voiced concerns that some of the keynotes have not explicitly linked their talks to what this means for libraries. I would argue that that's our job. As librarians, listening to information and gathering thoughts, it's our job to create that linkage, because we're the only ones who can see the ways that the information that's being given to us actually links to our personal contexts. So, to use another example, you attend a conference or a talk, and you say you went, and that you heard 20 things, and you have a list of the 20 things that you heard. That is less compelling than saying that you attended a bunch of conference talks, and then you thought about the talks that you attended. You linked them to the ideas and challenges that were listed there. You linked those ideas to your own goals. You linked your goals to your institution's goals and your community needs, and then you started linking all of that together with the work that you've done and the work that you want to do, and you start talking about that. There's been a lot of discussion of the power of story and storytelling. So I say, if you have a list of 20 things that you learned while you were at a conference, that's one thing. But if you have a story of how that all wraps together for you and what it means for you in the context of your own work, that's probably the thing people would rather hear about. So name your passion. Name the thing that is what resonates for you. Start there. And then make it actionable. An idea is only as good as what you do with it. So I believe that one way that you can make your passions actionable is to be an optimist. Just optimistic enough to believe in yourself, to believe that whatever your it is, can be done. There is a writer named Michael Lopp. He writes a blog called Rands in Repose, and there's a link that I'll have to this at the end of the presentation, which I will post on my blog later. He writes about IT management. He's written a couple of very interesting books on managing people in a high-tech environment. And he was reflecting on the death of Steve Jobs, the CEO of Apple. I guess that's 2 weeks ago now. And he was provoked enough by the loss of that visionary to write, quote, "You are underestimating the future. You're fretting about the now, worrying about little things that don't matter. You're wasting precious energy obsessing over irrelevant details. You don't believe that a better future is out there and can be built, that it can exceed people's expectations, because you're spending so much time considering the truth of the present and the seemingly important lessons of the past. You are underestimating the future because you believe you cannot see it, but you can. You've seen it done before." End quote. If you're convinced and believe that something matters and can be done, fears and fretting aside, you have to stand up for that idea. And that's what I mean by actionable passion. A belief in something coupled with a belief that it can be done is a really great call to action. But you can't assume that someone else is going to lead the charge or make the stand or shout your slogans or do the work for what you believe in. I mean, that works sometimes. Sometimes Steve Jobs is somewhere out there in the world inventing the iPad for us all, but not usually. Usually, if you want something, you have to do the work to make that dream a reality. So name your passion, own it, be optimistic about it, believe in it, and stand up for it, and get ready to make it happen. So, in your head, I hope some of you, if not many of you, have thought about a thing at this moment and have a sense of what your passion might be right now. The thing that is most exciting to you that you've picked up as you've moved forward. So that's great. Now, I'm a visual thinker and I love metaphors. I can't plan out a talk or a speech without having some sort of visual plan for myself, and so these slides are built as much to keep me moving when I was writing this as they are to help you along the way. But because I am a visual thinker and I think in metaphors, I need you to go with me here and play along and agree to pretend that acting on your passion is a hill. If you are willing to go with me on that, that's going to make this work much better. So, acting on your passion and making things happen is a hill. Everyone has a hill to climb because everyone believes in something or wants something. Always. I cannot believe anyone who says that they can't think of what their next project should be or that they don't know what they might possibly change or improve, because there's always a hill to climb. The people who think otherwise just haven't named their passion or perhaps don't believe it can be done. So if you can accept that everyone has that hill that they can climb, then you yourself have to then figure out what your hill is and decide if you want to climb it. Some hills are too big. They're too dangerous, they're too far away, and sometimes they're a really awesome challenge because they are all of those things. And you have to be the one who decides which ones are which for you. I have a whole mountain range of passion about my work. One of the places that I climb it is on my blog in my writing. This fall, I chose to argue with vendors calling out ProQuest and the American Chemical Society on some truly bad service and some seriously insane pricing models. And then there was the time when I drew a line in the sand about university librarians who are hiring non-qualified staff rather than supporting the skills development of their librarians to fill those needs. I think it's a terrible idea. I think we have great staff, they just need to be supported and developed appropriately. Before that, I was commenting on our professional take on online identity and its immense power and the fear it engenders amongst many in our profession. All of those professional thought wars still wage. I mean, I didn't change the world by doing any of those things. But I took a stand and took some positions, and I raised awareness of issues that mattered to me and started conversations. And so my choice to act in those cases mattered, even though the hill in front of me in the moment seemed incredibly scary. So the things that I do at my institution also matter. We're improving spaces, reinventing services, reorganizing the staffing structure, changing the mix of our resources online and in print, empowering staff to learn and to innovate. None of that was easy, and not all of it is safe, but it matters. And so you can do the same thing for the things that matter for you. And how do you do that? By doing what you're doing now here at this conference. You're gathering new data, and then you're going to use it to make new arguments. You're going to try out new stuff. I have a friend named Amy Buckland who works at McGill University Libraries, and she pulls out the phrase that professional development is all about challenging legacy processes. And once conferences are over and the two of us are sitting somewhere quieter, usually with a beer, we turn that sort of into the slogan of "Die, bunheads, die," calling on the stereotype of the librarian with big glasses and hair in a bun and a very sour expression on her face. But what we have learned in the years that she and I have been challenging legacy processes together as professionals is that sometimes our legacy processes and those bunheads that we claim should die are actually protecting the very core of what we do. And you can't know what that is unless you challenge it. You can't find the truths unless you pick them apart and look at why you do things. So challenge some legacy processes when you get back, because you've come to conference. You're here. You've talked to 100 interesting people, you've heard a dozen talks, you've taken notes, you've checked websites, you're gonna grab business cards and pens with vendor logos on them. I love vendor pens. You try on some new ideas, and then what? You get home, and you're carrying the energy with you. You've got a million ideas of things that you wanna do, and then you hit that wall of you're one person, you're working at one library, you can't do it all. The size of the hill in front of you is daunting. But I would say there is always a hill to climb. You can't let the simple existence of the hill stop you from climbing it. You just have to pick your hill. You have to look at what you've learned here, look at what you've learned elsewhere, think about what you know, the ideas you've generated, the things you believe in. You have to look at your energy and your resources and your barriers and pick a hill. Figure out which one is worth the climb, worth the sweat and the sore quads and the scramble over rocks, and just start climbing. When you get halfway up the hill and you see the insurmountable obstacle, whether it's lack of budget, resistance from your colleagues, a dissonance of vision between what you want and what your colleagues want, the consequences of a natural disaster, or a good old-fashioned catastrophic avalanche of all of those things happening to you at once. Then you have to stop and ask, is this the hill I want to die on? I had a director once who, when I would come to her with a grand vision and a lot of energy and something I truly wanted to tackle, she would say, is this a hill you want to die on? Is this really where you want to put your energy and what you are willing to risk it all for? Because not all hills, even smartly chosen ones, deserve your passion. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some battles can't be won. Sometimes the cost of winning is too high. You spend more than you can afford to see it get done. Or, remembering the exhortations of earlier keynotes to focus on political awareness, sometimes the victory isn't strategic enough. Some hills are not worth dying on. And since choosing the hill is intensely personal, related to your circumstances, only you can know which hill is which. But the thing that I want us all to remember is that we have the power to choose. We have the power to choose which projects we start, which ideas are worth it to us, which hills we're going to climb. And so that's a lot of squishy metaphorical talk about pretend hills. People usually want to know something concrete, and while I am actually spectacularly bad at offering concrete action steps, because I believe everyone's situations are so intensely personal, I do have some broad brushstrokes that I can share. Things don't just happen. Steve Jobs didn't magically appear with an iPad in hand. That was a process that started with reinventing Apple years ago, and that led us to this great thing, which I love dearly. Things happen because someone was in the right place at the right time with the right idea. Things happen because someone planned for them to happen. So I would say that we all must, as a first step, approach success, advocacy, and change as you would any other project. You plan for it. You put yourself in the right place at the right time because you intended to be there, because you worked hard to be there, and because you made a plan to ensure you stayed there. You can't just